there. Audio Pro X right there. Okay. Let's see how that's doing. See if that changed anything. Nope. Looking at the wrong thing again. One. See if that changed anything. Yes, it did. Okay. Thank you for my one viewer, Roland, who's watching me play a little Forbidden Lands. Apparently the system decided to default probably to my camera microphone, which is not good. So probably nobody has heard a dang thing that I've said, but have at least hung on long enough to hear what has been going on. Let me turn that screen back on. Let's see. Let me close that. Chipmunk. There we go. War dude. Got it. Let me do that. Let me say thank you. Right there. Alright. So hopefully that has been corrected. I don't need my... Well, I do need my OBS open. I'll have to... Let's see here. If I take my OBS, but I reduce it. There we go. I can have my controls as well as see the chat. Alright. Thank you very much. Alright. So what I was saying originally, which I'm getting back to, is I have shuffled my deck, brand new. We're going to day 2. At the end of the last adventure, I was captured by Dwarven. I was captured by Dwarven Mermanians who were in a battle with Isser orcs, and they had determined that my fate would be determined the next day. So we will be moving into day 2. And the first thing I want to do for day 2 is I want to figure out what the weather is going to be like. So I have, you guys didn't see anything that I looked at, which is fine. I have the alternate weather rules that came in the solo document that you can get on DriveThruRPG. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my card for my first card. And we're going to see together what that first kit is. It's the Four of Hearts. So the Four of Hearts is a light breeze, and a red suit is no rain. So it's a light breeze with no rain today. So that's good. So let me mark that on my calendar right here. Let me make a note. And the weather, it's going to be the weather. And the weather details are... light breeze. Helps if I know how to spell breeze correctly. With a Z. Alright. No rain. Perfect. Alright. And then the other thing we want to know is what is the temperature for today. So that's the second card. And the second card for today is, it's the Joker. So, what does the Joker do? That's very interesting. As far as I know, the Joker does nothing. I don't know if there's an actual effect with the Joker, so we'll have to do another card. So it's the 4 clubs. 4 is mild. It's not cold. And clubs... we're in the winter. Right, so it's mild. It's not a face card. So we're going to go with mild. Very nice. So it's mild temperatures. So let me close that down. Mild temperature. We're going to save our note there. We're going to light breeze, no rain, mild temperature. We're going to close that. So we have day 2, growth day, in the spring of 1165, Spring Rise, which is the first month of the 8-month year that is in the game. So I made a determination at the end of the last game of what I was going to do. And what it was that there was one last Isser orc. So the Dwarven Mermanians drag myself and Solga out. And they make their pronouncement. They basically say this is going to be a duel to the death between the lone Isser orc, who is an honorable combatant and should be given the chance to prove himself through strength of arms, to go free, and the human, which the orc has chosen as his competitor in the fight to the death, basically. Isser orcs in general hate humanity, so that falls in line with kind of their background. They don't mind goblins, and the Merriman dwarves have determined that Solga will be allowed to leave with the winner of this combat. What that means for Solga, we don't know. We'll find out in a moment. So what I decided to do, what I need to do is I need to make a new map. Basically, I need to add a map page with like a plains on it. So let me see if I can't add a scene really quick. We're going to create a new scene. We're going to call it plains. And it's not going to go into any specific folder at the moment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look and see if I actually have a plains map that I can draw on really quickly. I have a lot of maps and images that I can draw on. I have paid for many assets from 2 Minute Tabletop. So I just need to find like a grasslands or a plain, which I know I have. So let me see if there actually happens to be a plains versus a grasslands, which there doesn't appear to be. So I'm going to go plains. I'm going to grab myself my plains map, my Forge assets, my maps, and I believe I have a grassland right there, which is perfect. We're going to select that. Grid, it has no grid. Gridless. Lighting, we're going to say it's global illumination. And I don't have any ambient sound at the moment, so that's going to be it. So we're going to save that. All right, we're going to go to the plains right there. So let me close down everything for the moment so you guys can see what's going on. I'll close my calendar because that's not needed. Let's zoom in here. So what we're going to do, what I plan to do over time is I want to give icons to all my characters. But for now, I've got Aramis. There's Aramis. And under orcs, I have an Isser orc. There's the Isser orc. Amazing, right? This is dynamic tabletop right there. All right. So Forbidden Lands for combat generally uses just general distances. It's not meant to be a tactically skirmish game. Visuals are not necessary to run combat. It's mostly designed for kind of theater of the mind or rough map images. So what I'm going to say is that him and I are basically roughly one move away from each other, is what they set it up. And around us is probably a circle of Merminian dwarves that are let me make sure I said that correct, Miromanian dwarves that are kind of around us, just keeping us cordoned in, maybe even eating their breakfasts, polishing their armors, getting themselves ready for the next day. They won the battle, and I did do a randomization behind the scenes to see who sort of won the battle, and it was the dwarves that won it. And the Isser orc, as I said, we had one lone survivor. So the first thing I want to do is I want to determine initiative for the game. And one of the things I did talk about in my when I was discussing the game in general, and let me go to my image so I can see it. So I have the cards that came with Forbidden Lands, which is nice. One of the things I wanted to do was have enough dice so that if I could get a separate camera that kind of watched the dice, that I could then show you guys actual dice rolls, right? Versus virtual dice rolls. I like the feel of the actual dice. Unfortunately, the dice themselves are not for sale on the Free League website. I don't know if they ran out. I'm not exactly sure anything of that nature. What happened in regards to that. All right, there's the initiative deck. All right, very good. All right. So initiative in the game is very straightforward. there is a deck of cards that are used to set the initiative. You could, I suppose, roll a d10 and re-roll duplicates. These are numbered 1 through 10, basically. And I need to remind myself if low is good, high is bad. So let me go back to the player's handbook. Here real quick, let me go to combat. Let me go to rounds and initiative. And drawing the initiative. All right, number 1 through 10, all players taking part in the conflict, either voluntarily or involuntarily, draw a card. Draws 1 card for every NPC. This is called drawing the initiative. The number on the card determines the order in which you act. Number 1 acts first. Number 10 acts last. So I'm going to set the initiative, and I wonder if... So let's see what happens here if I add us to the combat state, right? So here's the combat state, which you guys cannot see. But I wonder what happens if I begin combat. Boom. Okay. All right. I did not need to draw cards. If people want to, if anybody watching this would rather that I draw cards, that's fine. I wouldn't mind drawing cards because the Isser is going first, and I am not going first. So that's an unfortunate situation. But as it is, the Isser is going first, according to the initiative. So during combat, you basically have two actions during the combat. You have a slow action and a fast action. Slow actions, go ahead and test it out. Go ahead and test it out. What, drawing cards? Let's see. Go ahead and test it out. All right, so I'm gonna draw a card. I think you're actually a little bit behind me, so you're probably... Oh, yeah? All right. So the orc drew an 8. And I drew a 7. Wow. All right. So with the cards, I barely got the initiative. So if we want to use the cards, which we will do, I will change our initiatives real quick. Let me update the combatant here. Let me change his to a 7, or to an 8. There we go. And update the combatant. There we go. All right. So that means that my good friend Aramis does get the drop, or gets the initiative on our Isser friend. Let me turn my camera off so you guys can watch this as well. So I had an idea, okay, when I came into the game. I had an idea from the last game. And Aramis is a sorcerer. And his sorcery, his type of sorcery, his talent, is... let me get the name of it so that I'm not... Stone Song, all right? So he is a Stone Song sorcerer. And Stone Song just happens to be a magic that came from dwarves in the distant past. Not super distant past, but distant enough. That dwarves were the ones that were the ones that created this magic, right? So I am thinking that I'm going to attempt to use my magic, right? So there are 3 spells that I know. There's Voice of the Mountain, there's Stun, and there's Dust from the Deep. Dust from the Deep, what it does, I wonder if I can bring up the description here. Nope, let me cancel that. Let me post the spell and turn on the roll window so you guys can see this. Boom. So the spell, what it does is the ingredient is a fistful of sand. That's Dust from the Deep. But all it does is it creates a zone of dust that obscures my view from a combatant, right? And allows you to basically flee from combat if you wanted to flee from combat. I'm surrounded by dwarves. If I make a pile of sand turn into dust from the deep, it means nothing in my opinion. I will never get away with that. What I do intend to do is use Stun. Okay, it has an ingredient of horror, and I'll talk about ingredients here in a minute. And what it does is a mighty voice, so strong that people around you are stunned. Your song causes 1 point of damage to agility per power level. You can distribute the damage across as many opponents as you want. Targets may attempt to resist the effect by rolling for insight. Insight. Each X rolled negates 1 point of damage, no effect against monsters, right? So I can't use it to stun monsters, but other NPCs like orcs and dwarves, etc., this works well against them with the power of my voice. Okay, they can attempt to resist it by rolling insight. So we will show that in a minute, what the Isser Orc's insight is. But my intent is that I'm going to cast a spell. Now, casting of spells is not without its problems. Let's take it away here. So we're going to go to magic, right? So spells. Spells have ranks, okay? And this is a rank 1 spell. There can be spells even higher, but as a magic user, you can cast all spells that are at a rank equal to or lower than your rank, which is rank 1 at the moment. Related to magic talent. For example, if you're rank 1 or 2 in the Path of Blood, you can cast spells rank 1 and 2. Cool. If you really want to, you can cast a spell 1 rank above your rank of your magic user, of your talent, which is 1. However, this comes with great risk, as you will automatically suffer a random magical mishap in this case. You can never cast a spell that is 2 ranks or more above your talent. Okay? So casting a spell is unlike all the other standard activities of the game. And what I mean from that is, let me see if I can bring my character sheet up. When you usually do things in the game, you get your attribute and whatever the skill is, that many dice, right? Attribute dice are white, your skill dice, I believe, are black, and then any equipment that may aid it are red. Okay, that's how you normally roll dice in this game. When you cast spells, that is not how it's done. Spells automatically succeed in this game. You have to have willpower to cast a spell. You do roll dice to cast it based on the power level that you cast the spell. So whatever, the number of willpower points you spend when you cast a spell is called its base power level. Dice rolls and other factors can further modify the power level. Unlike skills, you can never fail at casting. Instead, you roll a number of base dice equal to the number of willpower points you spend. If you roll 1 or several X's, the spell is overcharged. And if you roll 1 or several skulls, some sort of magical mishap happens. You cannot push a magical roll. Overcharging. When you cast a spell, every X you roll increases its power level by 1. For example, if you spend 2 willpower to cast a spell and roll 2 X's, its power level is increased to 4. Now you're like, what? What's that mean? So every spell has a power level. That power level is the number of base dice you roll for that skill. But you have to spend willpower as well. So the number of willpower points you spend when you cast a spell is called its power level. So the number of dice that you need, spell casting. You cast a spell at a low rank, right. Duration, willpower points. You have unleashed power point, there we go. Okay. Its power level increased to 4. So the power level determines the initial number of points that you use to cast the spell, right? And then there's ingredients. Most spells in this chapter list ingredients. Objects can be used to cast a spell with greater effect. If you use the right ingredient, the power level of the spell is increased by 1. Unfortunately, I don't have the ingredients. You must still spend at least 1 willpower point to cast a spell. Once a spell is cast, the ingredient is spent and cannot be used again to cast the spell. Okay? Alright. Casting is generally a slow action in combats, but there are so-called power words. We don't have any of that. Okay, well, a spell is a power word or ritual is detailed under each spell. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to cast a spell at this gentleman right here. So we're going to go to my talent. We're going to go to stun, right? We're going to attempt to cast stun, and it's giving me this here, right? It's currently power level 1, which has 1 dice. I can spend up to 3 willpower, apparently, right? So if I spend... where's my willpower? I don't have ingredients. It's not safe casting, right? How do I increase the... There we go. All right. Now, by using 2 willpower points, the number of willpower points you spend when you cast a spell is called its power level. Dice rolls, right? If casting a greater deal, mental exertion willpower, you accumulate willpower, right? Where is the chance casting spell ranks? Where is it again? Spells. Scribe later. Spells. Okay. Now, if you want to cast a spell at 1 rank above your rank, your magic talent, however this comes to greater risk, you automatically fail. Right. So, I'm choosing to cast it as a rank 1 spell, but I'm adding 2 willpower points to it to increase its willpower. Right? So, this gives me a decent chance to get a success. Regardless, the spell itself, right? Your song causes 1 point of damage to agility per power level, right? So I'm choosing to do it at power level 3. Okay? For every additional, where is it? Where's my rolling thing? Okay, so I'm doing it power level 3. Alright, so this, I think, means that I'm going to have a mishap no matter what, right? So casting a spell. Slow action, because I want to get this right. Another type of spell or rituals, whatever. Casting a spell requires a great deal of mental exertion, requires you to spend 1 or more willpower points. You accumulate willpower by pushing dice rolls. The more power you spend, the more powerful the spell effect is. Number of willpower points you spend when you cast spells is called its base power level. Unlike skills, you can never fail. Instead, you roll a number of base dice equal to the number of willpower points you spend. If you roll 1 or several X's, blah, right? When you cast a spell, where is it? For example, you spend 1 willpower to cast a spell and roll 2 X's. Its power level is increased to 4, right? If you roll 1 or more blah blah blahs, right? Range, duration, willpower point, cast spell across at least 1 power, even if applied. So basically, where is it? Where's overpowering? Is power increasing the power level? Cast spell. Where is it? Spell ranks. Cast spell rank of your own. However, this comes to great risk. You automatically suffer random damage. Right. So if you cast a spell 1 rank above your own, that's when you have an automatic mishap. The amount of willpower I spend just determines the amount of extra that I could potentially do. So I'm currently going to be rolling 3 dice. It's going to do 3 agility damage no matter what. I have a chance to increase that for every X, right? So as you see here, when you cast a spell and roll 2 X's, its power level increases to 4, right? When you cast a spell, for every X you roll, increases its power level by 1. So if you spend 2, which causes 2 automatic, and you roll 2 X's, that's when the power gets increased to 4. So that's how much damage. So the power level I'm casting at is level 3. What that does mean is that I'm opening myself up to risk, because for every skull, I suffer some form of a mishap. Alright, so here we go. I'm starting the combat. I'm going out there. I'm going to cast a spell. The dwarves hear me open my mouth, and the sounds of a clean horn emanate from my mouth, shuddering the ground and the earth around us. Okay, so now we're going to give it a roll. We're going to see what happens. Boom de boom. All right, so this is very interesting, very, very interesting. All right, so the power level is 4. I have a mishap because I got a skull, so I took a risk. Now the question is, what is an Isser Orc's agility? All right. Their agility is 3. So what this does is for every point of damage to their agility, it causes every point of damage causes a point of damage to their agility. They, however, do get to roll a insight roll, right, to see if they can resist it. The insight of a Isser Orc is 0, but it's based on wits, and their wits is 3 dice. So they're going to get to make an insight roll. Okay. It's got 3 dice. They're going to roll. Yoink. And looking at it, they received 0. Okay. So that orc is going to take 4 agility damage. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? I'll talk about what agility does to him here in a minute, and we'll see what that does, the effect of the spell. What I do want to look at, though, is what happened to me, right? The orc is never going to push. If I remember correctly, NPCs never push, monsters never push. Only PCs push their dice because that's the only break that make them heroes over the world, basically. So I'm going to get a mishap, right? So we have a mishap. So let's see. Casting a spell. There is a mishap table, right? General spells, healing spells, death magic. Where is mishaps on the? Probably it's a table that's in the book that is a table we can roll on, which I'm sure it is. But I want you to know what the mishap table is. Where is magical mishap? That's that. Where are my tables? Is it in the Game Master Guide? Let's see. Legends Index. Where is it? Where's spell mishaps? Solo. Let's see if there's a spell mishap table in here. Dungeon? No. No. Monster attacks? No. Hireling table? No. Hostile? Solo? Yeah. Combat? Yeah. Solo size? Yeah. No. Not seeing anything there. Where is my mishap table? Well, let's put it this way. There's a mishap table built in the game, so I'm going to roll against it. I would like to know what the mishaps are in the game and show it to you as well so that you guys can follow along also, right? General spells, right? Magic, how to cast spells, blah, 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 right? Let me close this. Let me go to my rollable tables. Let me go the core game. Let me go to mishaps. Let me go to magic mishaps. So here's the table, right? There's a number of items on it. I don't want to read them all. I'd like to show it to you in the rules. Let me see. Combat tables. Helmets, melee, range, shields. Nope, that's not telling us anything. Magic, stronghold, gear, combat table, gear list, journey references. Journey references. No. No, 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 no. Where is the magical mishap table? So let me go to the player's handbook. Let me go to the index. Let me go to the magic mishap table. Magical mishaps, page 119. Go to page 133. There it is. Alright, so let me share my screen again in the PDF view right here. So here's the magical mishap table. It's a 11 to 66 result, so it's a D66. We're going to roll in the game for the dice roll. So let's go ahead and get up my roll window, which is already up, which is right there. Let me get onto my roll window. Let's roll a mishap. So we're going to see what our mishap is. Here we go. Alright. Okay, the spell backfires. An offensive spell affects you instead of your intended target. Alright, a protective or healing spell wounds instead of healing. A shapeshift goes horribly wrong. You become a dumb animal. A summoned undead demon. An illusion turns against you. The DM specifies the details. This is a horrible result, right? So let me see what my options are to avoid that result. Alright, so willpower. Let's take a look at willpower real quick. Where is willpower? Because I know there is an option for using willpower. Where is the Game Master Guide? Right here. Let's go to Legends. Let's go to willpower. 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 It's not going to be listed there, so it's in the player's handbook. So let's look at willpower. Index, willpower. Willpower points right there. Boom. All right. So willpower right here. Okay. For every for every skull you roll on, you push the brink of your abilities risk. That's how you get it, right? But there's something you can use willpower for. Sometimes this journal will help you succeed. This gives you extra skill dice. Let's see here. When you face challenge with your fellow adventurers, you roll dice separately. This gives you skill dice, difficulty. Game Master can push. You gain additional willpower points from your stronghold. Damage you suffer. Where is it? You get willpower points in addition to any damage you suffer. Willpower points require you. Powerful king. You gain willpower. Wow. Alright, come on. Where is... I know there's a way you can use willpower points. Artifact dice. Pride. Skill. Where is it? Pushing your roll, which is there. Is it under the solo rules? Adventure created. Expanded journeying. No, that's how you do the journeying. That's your companion. Adventure generation. Scouting. Come on, where's willpower? I know it's around here somewhere. Because otherwise I have basically just knocked myself out, right? So if we look at myself, I took 4 points of agility, would knock me out of the game, which we'll tell you in a minute, which basically means Aramis's adventure would end right here, okay? But I know that there is a way you can use willpower points to modify the game. Right? Hello, cat. Expanded travel mishaps, new hunter, expanded encounters. Come on, where is it? Game Master Guide. What is it? Encounters, Kin Gods, History, Game Master, Principles, First Step, Preparing, Non-Player, Position, failure. Let's see. The Game Master. Let's look at the Game Master. Principles. Blah, blah, blah. Death. Yep. Part of the game. First session. There we go. Which is nice. Preparing. Let them live. Let's see. Consumables. Failure. Okay, events at Stronghold. I know what it is I'm thinking about, and it's that in a solo adventure, you get 4 active abilities that you can use like once ever. Where is it? Expanded encounters. Solo combat doesn't do anything. One of your opponents yeah. Solo combat, intelligent NPCs, right? NPCs don't coup de grace. During combat, do not use coup de grace rules for all. If your PC command is broken during combat, your opponents will always either capture you or leave you and consult the yes, no, or 4 initiative drawn. Opponent is a monster from the right. It's not a monster. Opponent's at their least, right? It keeps fighting. Wow, this is I wish I had located that before the game began, because I'm trying to find it. There is a set of things that you get at the beginning, a set of possible extra things. Expanded journeying, no. Expanded animals. Is it in the Game Master's Guide? Game Master's Guide. Principles of the game. Go ahead and test it out. Yeah. Create your own, make them. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Which I already looked at this. The first section. Handling. Is it in... Is there solo... Oh, there's solo rules in the Beasts. Is that where it is? Book of Beasts. There we go. Solo rule. Okay. Alright. There we go. Character creation. This is how you create your character. Journeying for 1. Your solo adventure. Creating. Getting started. Alright. Journeying from getting started. Situation legend. Location. Date. Advancement. Journeying for 1. General encounters. Exploring the map. Playing the Oracle. Come on. Where is it? Trade. Social. Combat. Where is it? Social. Playing solo. Game Master Tools. Your solo adventure. I'm missing it, which sucks because we need to know where it's at. There are basically, I want to say 4 different basic things that you get as an optional item when you play solo that basically give you a leg up, right? But they're like a once-in-a-lifetime situational item. Group enemies, playing solo with others, yeah, that's nice. So yeah. Oh, those are all those encounters. Let's playing, combat, social. No, nothing there. Getting started. I already did that. Situation, how did you meet, etc. All of that. First moves, yeah. Advancement, that's fine. Next procedure. Alright. So one of 2 things is going to happen. If we go with the Game Master Guide for the solo adventuring or non-player characters, right? Where is it? Under the solo rules in combat, right? Solo combat. The NPCs don't coup de grace, right? While your PCs can absolutely be killed during combat, NPCs don't use the coup de grace rules during the solo campaign. If your PC and companion is broken during combat, your opponents will always either capture you or leave you for dead. Consult the yes/no oracle if one is option. Alright. So then we're going to go to the Oracle, right? So if that's the case, we're going to go to the Oracle. Where is the Oracle? Solo friendly sites, solo strongholds. Come on, where's the Oracle? Oh, do I need to... Yeah, I'm in the solo guide, which is the... Yeah, alright, so I need the Oracle. Where is it? Friendly sites, that's nice. Solo strongholds, okay, that's nice. Where? Oh, is it in the Forbidden? Is it in the Book of Beasts? Solo oracles. There we go. Playing card oracles. Yes, no oracles. All right. So, all right. We're gonna go into the Book of Beasts. We're gonna go into the solo rules. We're gonna go into the playing card oracles so you can see it. We're gonna draw a yes/no oracle basically. So. They either the Isser Orc is allowed to take us with him, all right, is what I'm going to say, or they're going to leave me for dead. They think I blew myself away. But what does that mean? Does that mean that we'll find out in a minute? I think I have an idea. But we're going to randomly roll to see what the heck happens to me right here. We're going to give ourselves a random card here. So we're going to go with the yes/no oracle. We're just going to give it a straight up 50-50, right? So 50-50 is yes, they leave me for dead. No, they capture me is what we're going to do. All right? So a red suit is they leave me for dead. Oh, helps if I turn my camera back on, doesn't it? Let me turn my camera back on. Boom. Hey, what's going on? No. So they have taken me prisoner, right? Maybe, but the result is not clear. All right. So does he take me prisoner? So we're going to say no. I mean, they're going to take me prisoner. All right. So let's wonder at the situation I find myself in. Okay? So we're going to draw another card to see, with them taking me prisoner, what does the Isser Orc say? They're Myrmidon dwarves, so let me first off knock myself out. Boom, 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 I'm out, right? The Isser Orc just stands there. He looks at the Myrmidons and basically says, what the heck? I'm not going to kill a helpless person who just blew himself away. Right? That's what he basically looks at the Myrmidons. So what they say, well, then just his companion is yours to take with you, and so is his dead body or living, whatever it may be. We wash our hands of this situation. They throw his weapons back at him. They pack themselves up and they storm off. The dwarves do. They were slightly impressed from the magic for a moment, but sure enough, I knocked myself out. So we wonder what the Isser Orc is going to do. So the Isser Orc is going to 4 of diamonds. So 4 of diamonds is protection. So he has taken, I guess, some pity on me, right, for being such a fool, for being a ridiculous human idiot, right? Because the Isser Orcs are sort of, they're not necessarily noble, they're vicious, skilled warriors, and they normally hate humans, but he just doesn't know what to do. The situation is bizarre to him. So they drag me along. We camp here, basically, is what I'm going to say, is we're going to camp at this location. The Isser Orc is going to allow me, okay, does the Isser Orc want a rematch? All right, let's say that, right? Does the Isser Orc want a rematch in the next morning after I've recovered? So the answer is a Jack of Clubs. So black, face card, no, and some complication. All right, so he doesn't want a rematch. Maybe he saw the writing on the wall that if I have another chance to cast a spell at him, that might mean his downfall, right? So, what is the hazard here? Let's see. So, let's see what this is. All right, so that is a 5 of hearts. So, the 5 of hearts, mildly helpful. All right, mildly helpful, let's say. And what is kind of the theme of the situation? So a 7 of spades. So a 7 of spades is deception. All right, deception. Find yourself first. You need some information when you're stuck. We draw a card. Consult table below. Means not clear. Draw a second card. And treat one as a minor theme. So deception doesn't really fall in line, right? So let's see here. So 6 of diamonds. That is abundance. Interesting. All right. So I kind of have an idea. All right. So once again, we're going to be required to stay here overnight. I'm going to spend my time recovering. He doesn't care about my companion. Solga does not want to drag her along. He basically wants to head back to their primary camp, so to speak, and decide what they want to do. You didn't see any of those Oracle items because I had the PDF up. That sucks. All right, so basically I had not the rollable table. Let me go to the Book of Beasts. Let me go to the solo rules. So there's Oracle tables here, which you didn't see. You saw my card draws, but basically, no, he captured me. They offered me up as a thing. I then said, hey, based on the item here, which was, I can't remember what the first draw was, but basically I then said, okay, does he want a rematch in the morning, right? Because he was helpful, basically. He was confused or whatever the result was. What was it? Was it protection? It was protection was the first one. So he decided to keep us alive overnight. I then said, does he want a rematch? And it was no. There's a complication. The complication I got was deception and abundance. All right. So what I'm going to say, and this is what's going to happen, is the day's going to go by. Okay. And over the course of the day, we come to realize that he has no food, right? No food, no water, right? He needs to rest in order to continue on his journey. He does have his two-handed sword. He's still got all his equipment back, but he has nothing else on him, okay? So he basically is going to say, give me your money. So he's going to take the 10 silver that we would have got as booty, right? So that's the 10 silver that we got as part of our booty. He's going to take the bowl that we got. Let me look at. So actually, let's do our journal right here, right? Let's do the Journal of Aramis. We're going to go on to day 2, and we're going to do this. All right. So this is the perfect day for a match to the death with an Isser orc. Okay? Aramis, believing that he has a foolproof plan, proceeds to cast a spell and render himself self-exhausted and collapses to the ground. Alright. I need to learn how to spell. No extra E there. And collapse. I don't know. That looks right. Is it 2 L's? Collapses to the ground. It is. There we go. Collapses to the ground. The dwarves are impressed with his magical skill, but the Isser orc will not simply kill an unconscious SCIOUS opponent. The dwarves give me and my companion that's how you spell companion. Companion? Alright, we're going to leave that as it is, because apparently I don't know how to spell companion. With the orc. He decides to keep us safe for the day, but takes our stolen loot from the bodies we looted previously, and we need to share our rations with him. Okay? Alright, so we're going to save that. We're going to close that. So what I'm going to say is we spend the day, yeah, womp womp. We spend the day resting. We have to give up some of our rations. So I'm going to say that my companion Solga gives up one of her food to the orc, and I give up one of my water. So Aramis gives up one of his water. Okay. Now we, meaning myself and Solga, we need to roll our food and our, right? We need to roll our food and our water for the day. So Aramis, he drinks his water. He rolls a 6, so he's good. It doesn't go down. He drinks some water. He gets a 6. He's good. So how resources work is you roll the resource dice every time you use a resource. And you have to drink and eat every day. There you can skip, and there's some effects and things of that nature. But generally, if you roll anything but a 1 or a 2, you keep your die at what it is. If you roll the max, you don't get more. But basically, your food could last, a long time if you keep rolling well. So you basically find a little bit on your way here and there to help supplement, and it basically just means you're finding the best way to stretch your food out for the day. Now Solga, she has to eat her food, and she rolls an 8, so she's good. She has to drink her water, and she rolls a 9, so she's good. So she's still very well up. Now, I will say, more than likely, Aramis attempts to sleep in his tent, and the Isser Orc basically says, "Yeah, no, I'll be taking that. I'll be sleeping in your tent. I'll leave you with your tent because I don't want to be bogged down with it while we're traveling, but I'm going to sleep in it." So what I do need to do is solo, right? Expanded encounters. I need to look at the Wheel of the Day, right? So what is the Wheel of the Day? So every day is broken into 4 components, right? There's a morning, a day, an evening, and a night. And when you travel in this game, let me see if I can find the wheel for you guys so you can understand what's happening. So throughout the day, it's going to be in the Player's Handbook. So let me go to the Player's Handbook. Player's Handbook. Let me go through journeys. Basically, every day you have to, the quarters of the day, you need to do something. We are in spring. It is light in the morning, light in the daytime, dark in the evening, dark at night. Okay? Every watch you have to do something. Okay? It can be combined with hike, but can only be done by one adventurer in the group. Foraging, hunting, fishing, making camp, right? And making camp is something you have to do, okay? Sleep can be done by several adventurers at the same time. When you sleep, you automatically rest at the same time. So I'm going to say the Isser Orc basically takes my tent after the combat, and he goes to sleep, right? So he's fine, okay? When you sleep, you automatically rest at the same time. So there are different things there are roles you have to make to do the different things, right? Keeping watch, foraging, hunting, fishing, making camp, right? So when your journey for the day is over, you have to make camp. Finding a good location for the camp, making a fire, preparing to sleep. Takes a whole day, a whole quarter day, usually the evening. Only one person makes a make camp roll, but others can help. Okay, so unfortunately, let me explain to you what the condition of agility sent to 0 stands for. Where is my character? Let me bring up Aramis again, and let me close the roll window so you can see. All right, let me bring up Aramis. So agility to 0. So let me look at the basic Player's Handbook in the game so you understand what's going on here. So we're going to do combat and damage, right? So we're going to do damage. So where is damage and recovery, right? So damage is broken down into different things, okay? If your agility is damaged, you're physically fatigued and exhausted, right? Suffering damage by rolling those from backlash, from magic, right? Armor can resist it. There's cover, things of that nature. I wonder if I should have rolled a, since it backlashed on me, I wonder if I should have rolled an insight. Where's Aramis? Where's Aramis? Right there. What is my insight? If I would have made an insight roll, what's going on here? What's it saying? Let's stop combat. First off, let's end the combat. There we go. Yes. Okay. So we're going to go here. We're going to bring up my roll window. Let's close this. Let's close this for now. Let's close that for now so you guys can see what's going on. I'm going to attempt to roll insight. What's it saying right here? It is saying you are broken, you cannot act. All right, so, but that would have happened before I was broken, right? So let me clear the agility here. And let me attempt my insight roll to resist, okay? So I have a high wits, okay? So let's roll it back here, right? Now that I'm thinking about it, I should have gotten an insight roll, but that's the question. What do we think? Would I get an insight roll on a backlash from a spell? I don't know. Good question. Let me look at my spell again. Let me look at my talent. Let me look at stun. Let's look at it here. The targets may attempt to resist the effect by rolling insight. All right, so I'm going to say yes. All right, we could re-roll the companion, re-roll everything. I think a spell makes sense, right? All right, so I'm going to attempt a wits roll, which I pulled up the wits roller right here. I'm going to attempt a wits roll to resist the damage, which is 4 right now, which is what it's going to be. So here we go. We're going to make a roll right there. I got 1 success, which would have reduced it to 1. I'm going to push it, which means I'm going to take a wits damage, which is fine. I'm going to push it. And I got a 2nd success and another skull. All right, which means I take 2 wits damage. I resist 2, which would have taken my agility down to 1, right? So let's rewind the clock. Let us see what's going to occur here, okay? So let me go into my journal real quick. Let's go to day 2. Let us rewind this because maybe I didn't, right? And renders himself almost exhausted, right? All right, so we're going to just leave it right there for now because I want you guys to see, I want you to see combat, right? So let's close this down here. Let's get back in here. Solga is not here. She's closed. The dwarves are all around us still. Let me pull up the initiative chart, throw us back on it. There we go. I'm first, begin combat. I'm still first, which is good. So I almost stunned myself. Probably the dwarves laugh their asses off when that happens. I'm going to use my minor action to open the distance is what I'm going to do, right? So let me go to combat. So in fact, let me bring it up in the book so you guys can see. Player's Handbook, Combat and Damage. We're looking at combat, right? Combat, drawing the initiative, slow actions, fast actions, right? So a fast action is moving. Where is it? Punch, kick, grapple, break free, shoot, prompt, crawl. Oh, fast action. There we go. Is retreat, enemy at arm's length. Basically, it's a move, right? So we want to retreat. Bring him at arm's length. Run. No enemies at arm's length. No. Okay. So you can only retreat if the enemy's at arm's length, right? If I want to just move, where is movement? Changing the initiative. Come on. Surprise. Changing. Examples. Slow actions. Fast actions. Describing, right? Refreshing zones. There we go. Dot into the zones. There is an area of ground. How big a zone is varies from a few steps across to 25 meters. Zone is generally smaller and difficult terrain than an open terrain. Distance from one zone to the next is called one segment. To go from short, right, to long, which would be, let's see here. Constitute zone, random, okay. Just one zone next is called one segment, right? Example, zone features. Come on, where's moving? Range, movement, there we go. Close combat. If you have an enemy at arm's length, which I don't, okay, you can run. You can use it to move during combat, use the run action, fast, or crawl, slow. This moves you from one zone to a neighboring zone, or between near to arm's length. So what I'm gonna say, because this is not the best option, he attempts to run, right? I attempt to back up, but there's a ring of Meromanian dwarves, which simply chortle and shove me back in, right? So the Isser Orc would then get to go. He is going to close the distance with a fast move. Let me unselect everybody. Thank you very much. Go back here. No, let me just select him. There we go. He is going to close the distance, right? So he's going to close with his fast action, and he is going to make an attack against me. Now, he sees that I have no shield. I don't believe I have a shield. Let me double check my equipment. Gear. Do I have a shield? I have a longsword. No shield, right? But I have studded leather armor, okay? So he sees I have a longsword. The only thing going for me is I have Defender as a skill. And what Defender does is... Come on. Go here. Thank you very much. What Defender does, you're skilled at using a weapon and shields to protect yourself in combat. Rank 1, you get one free parry every round of combat. The extra parry does not count as one of your actions in the round. So I have a parry that he's unaware of. I actually have a fairly decent combat capability, right? I'm also lucky. And lucky is that no matter how bad the odds are, you always get away unscathed. When you suffer a critical injury, you can re-roll once. The lowest roll counts. Okay, which is interesting because when you're broken, I need to make sure I shouldn't have taken a critical injury when I was broken as well. So we need to figure that out. All right, so I have a capability that gives me a free parry. Okay, but we're gonna go into combat here. So we're gonna target myself. Boop. Right, we're going to target me. Boop, there we go. The Isser Orc. No, target me. Thank you. We're going to go to targeting. We're going to choose the Isser Orc. He is going to make a swing on me. Now, here's what I wanted to get at. In combat, there are different types of swings that you can do, right? So, where are close combat? Close combat, right? Shield, stances, reactions. Come on, where's the stance? Close combat, you stand on your feet. Yes, 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 yes. Where is it? The type of actions. Is it under damage? No, so it's got to be under combat. Changing, slow. Describe your action, which is fine. What I'm getting at is there's a stab result and a slash result. And he has a weapon, his two-handed sword, right, which is equipped. We're going to equip it for him, along with his studded leather and his closed helm, right? So he's equipped. So in combat, I have these options, right? And he's using a two-handed sword, which a two-handed sword, boom, let's go here. Two-handed sword has a bonus dice of 2, does a damage of 3, and it's edged, pointed, and is parrying, right? So the features of the weapon, let's see, close combat, slow actions, let's go, there we go, all right. You swing your weapon, your opponent requires a weapon with an edged or blunt. For melee, plus the weapon's gear bonus. Can be dodged or parried. If your target dodges, they get a bonus, right? If you hit, your opponent takes weapon damage. Stab allows you to be dodged or parried. A target who parries gets a -2 penalty. So he's going to stab with his sword is what's going to happen. Okay? So I'm just going to go straight for it. We're going to go to combat. He is going to two-handed sword. He is going to stab is what we said, right? So let's go to our roll screen, which is right there. He has no modifiers. It's not an artifact. He is choosing the stab option. So he's choosing the stab. All right, so he gets 1 success, which means it will do 3 damage, right? Damage 3. I don't know why it says damage 3, and he only got 3 when he got 1 additional success. It should have done 2 damage. I mean, it should have done 4 damage, because every success adds an additional damage, from what I understand. Okay, I think it's just saying, hey, it does 3 damage normally, and he got 1 success. Because for every success that he gets a describe reaction, zones, close combat, weapons, blah, 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 reactive. Come on, where is weapon attributes, right? Rolling the dice, damage. If you roll extras, it deals extra damage. Features, right? Lets him do that. Damage and recovery. All right, doesn't matter. Regardless, doesn't matter. He's going to be doing 4 damage to me. I get to parry his roll. Now I, unfortunately, suffer a -2 on my parry. So we are going to do a parry talent. Where is my parry? How do I... Oh, combat. There we go. I'm using a longsword, right? Which is edge. It's parrying. Parrying means it's a weapon I can parry with, and then I have that special ability. So I'm going to go to my combat, and I'm going to say parry. Now, it does have a -2 modifier, because he chose to stab, right? Oh, whoops, there it is. I can do it right up at the top, right? 0. So I can say activate parry a stab right there. So I'm suffering -2. My longsword gives me 2 bonus dice, which are here. My melee skill is 1, and I have 3 as it is. I need to try and negate 4 points of damage. So we're going to roll this right here. Boom. Well, howdy do. All right, my parry, why does it say 1? What? Yeah, I rolled 3 successes. Oh, what? Right, -1 there. So I only got 1 die instead of 2 bonus dice. And so -1 success. Interesting. Interesting. I wonder how this is reading it. Because I normally would have 3 dice. My melee is... So 1 success? Right, that's what I'm seeing, which doesn't make sense, because there are 3 successes. They did -1. My bonus die for my weapon... Whoops, hold on. Gear. My bonus dice for my weapon is 2. Right? So this is what's interesting. I would have 2 dice at -1 of my dice, right? I still got a success. Okay? Oh, the longsword, there it is. Negative mind. Never mind. There's the 2 dice I got there. Is the -2, does the negative dice subtract? Right, that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? So I got all of my dice, and then there's a -2 from parrying, right? Here's the parry right there. Is it -2 successes on a parry? Let's take a look here. So he was doing a... Come on. Weapons. Bonus, riding animals. Where is it? Close combat. Shield, stance, parry. Dodge. When you attack an armor opponent, right. Dice, slow actions, fast actions. We already did that. Weapons. Where is the close combat? Where was I seeing slashing and stabbing? Ranged. Close combat. Reactive, slow actions, fast actions. Okay, come on, where is it? It's not here, right? It's under combat. Where the heck did it go? Slow actions, changing your initiative, talents, describe your action, refreshing your actions, slow and fast actions, zones and range, ambushes, close combat, weapons, gear bonus. Dodge, parry, aim, shoot, readied. Those are ranged, right? Here we have disarm, stand up, swing a weapon, right? But where is... Oh my goodness. This is very irritating to try and find this in the middle of the day right here at 8:30 at night. I'm vacillating. I would love to have gone through one day of just fighting right here, right? But where did that go? Right? So damage and recovery, no. Where was it? Where was slash and swing, or stab and swing? So I can read what it does for parrying. Parry, right? That's parry a ranged attack, so hold on. Parry a retreat, feint, shove, stand up, swing a weapon. Where? Parry. There we go. Fast action, dot parry. If opponent attack, raptor, shield, right. If you parry a weapon that lacks parrying, you get a negative 10. If your attacker stabs with a stab, you get a +2 bonus. He slashed then, whatever it was. Negative 10 when you parry. Every X you roll eliminates an X from the attacker's roll. Excess X have no effect. Right, so parrying with a weapon, if he stabs, is -2, right? Block your opponent. You get +2 bonus for every... So I guess it's successes. So I got 3 successes, so it would be 1. Right? Yeah, right? Sometimes it just doesn't seem to flow. Alright, so it does appear that I negated 1. So I've negated 1 point of his damage so far, which is 4. I still have 3 points of damage, and I need to now do my armor, right? I need to do my armor roll. So we get to make an armor roll, which is 3, to see if I can negate any additional damage. So I'm taking 3, and cute. I got that, and I don't get to roll that. What happens? Oh, if I remember right, that reduces the armor for every skull that I roll. So let me look that up again, right? Player's Handbook, Combat. Damage and recovery. Damage, suffering damage from attacks, armor. The effective armor is determined by armor rating. With separate damage failure, you roll a number of gear dice equal to that. If any damage penetrates your armor rating is decreased for every skull you roll, reduces the armor's rating by 1, right? So the studded leather, oh, whoops. Did I do his studded leather? I think I did. Did Aramis roll his studded leather? Aramis' studded leather, no. All right. So my bonus should have reduced by 1, right? Is what should have happened. Reduces the armor's rating by 1. If it absorbs all the damage, any skills has no effect. Armor can be repaired. Right. Armor rating is decreased. Every skill roll reduces the armor rating. Right. It does. So the question is, I just took 3 points of strength damage, which will break me. Right? That breaks me, is what's going to happen. So I have been broken. So let's go to combat and damage, right? So critical injuries. So broken, right? Strength. You are knocked senseless. Roll for a critical injury for the type of damage you suffered. Roll on the critical injury chart, right? If you're not dead, you can only crawl and mumble through the pain. You can't perform any other actions, and you can't roll for any skills. Okay? They're not going to coup de grace me, so more than likely he's just going to let me crawl off into the underbrush. Same way as PCs. Well, that's right. We're still surrounded by dwarves, basically. All right. Heals another percent. Instead, GM decides what happens. You can also decide that minor percent whose strength is broken simply dies. All right. So, critical injuries. All right. So, this was a stab. Okay. So, I need to roll on the stab wound critical injury table. Okay. So, let's close that. I should be able to just roll on the critical injury table. Not a mishap. It was critical injuries from a stab right there. Come on. I don't want to open the table. I should be able to roll straight on the table, straight from it. All right, I guess it's going to bring up the roll table. I'm going to have to roll that way. So I'm going to roll on the table. Boop. There we go. Draw results. Severed arm artery. Okay, let's see what this is going to do here. Severed arm. When broken, you push rolls so hard that you start. But it can happen. You can never kill. So let me see. Let's find out what the critical injuries are. Critical injury, right? It says severed arm injury. What is this right here? 200 weapons cannot be used. -1 modifier. -1 modifier attempts to heal injury. Lethal? Yes, it is. Time left, D6 minutes. Healing time, D6 days. Wow. All right. So we're looking at some problems right here. So my arm injury has been severed. I now need to attempt to heal myself. Right? So we're going to go to the healing skill. So let's take a look at that right there. Let's look up our skills. Let's look up healing. Right? Where's my skills? Rolls. Rolls without skill. No. 6. Rolling the dice. Okay. Where's the list of skills? NPCs and skills. Skills. Right there. There we go. Healing. 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 Right there. A person who had their strength or agility reduced skill is broken and cannot act any further. If you're applying healing skills, all right, so I can't heal myself. So my assistant, my companion, Solga, is going to have to attempt to heal me. So she comes rushing into the circle as I flop onto the ground, blood pumping out of my arm. Okay? Person who has their strength or agility reduced 0 is broken, cannot act. If you apply your healing skill to her, slow action, and your roll succeeds, they get back on their feet, immediately recover a number of attribute points equal to the number of X's you rolled. The problem is they're rolling unskilled, right? So skills, rolling the dice, roll dice without the skill. If you don't have a skill required for you want it for, you can roll anyway. You just roll their base dice. So what's going to happen is Solga is going to come running out there. Now, what I am going to say is she knows that I carry in my gear bandages. Okay? And bandages give a +1 to the healing roll. So what I'm going to do is she's going to grab my bandages. I'm going to give it to her right here. Yoink. Bandages. There we go. So she now has bandages. And I'm going to trash my bandages for now. Okay? So she is going to come running over. She's going to grab my bandages, and she's going to attempt a healing roll. So she's going to attempt healing. She does have a bandage, so she is going to make that attempt. Now, bandages, I'm going to show you that in a minute. If you use bandages, they're like a use it and lose it type situation, if I remember correctly. So once you use them, they're kind of gone, or they have multiple charges. We'll find out in a minute. So she attempts to heal me. Okay. Holy crap. She rolls 2 successes. I can't believe it. All right. Each person... Okay. If you recover attribute points before you die, you can attempt to heal yourself. All right. So, found at the back of the book. So, healing. Each critical injury has a specific effect that you suffer during the healing indicated time measured in days. So, during the process of healing a critical injury, the remaining healing time is reduced by half. All right. So... what's going on here? So let's look at the severed arm again, right? All right, attempts -1 modifier, attempts to heal injury. So she should have had a -1 modifier, right? So that should only be 1 success, is what it should be. So let's close that. That's Slogan. Let me close that. Let me open up my sheet here. Aramis. He is here. So where is my... how do we do this? How do I put the critical injury on myself, right? So let's look at critical injuries again. Suffering damage, critical injuries. Okay, being broken is always bad, right? Look at the critical injury. If critical injury listed as lethal, someone must make a successful healing roll to save you. Otherwise, you die when the time indicated is passed. If you recover attribute points before you die, drag and drop. Yeah, you can attempt to heal yourself, but the roll gets a -2 penalty. Each penalty trying to heal, you can only roll once. Okay, each person can only attempt to roll once. Right. Each critical injury has a specific effect you suffer. Alright, so healing. Let's look at healing again. The healing skill. Healing. There we go. Most important application of healing is giving first aid to save a life or fall in combat who has suffered that. A fail roll at this point can mean the end, so be careful. Okie dokie. A person who has had their strength 30 reducer is broken, cannot act further. Apply healing skill to her, and your roll succeeds. Get back on their feet immediately. Recover a number of attribute points equal to the successes you read. Alright, so that means that I basically recover 1 of my strength points, basically. Boom. She successfully healed me. I recovered 1 point. Alright. The Isser Orc, I'm going to say, kind of stood off to the side while I was being recovered. Let me close my roll window again. So while I was being tended to by Solga, then he stood off to the side. So let me pull up Solga again. And let me go to my gear. Let me go to bandages and read the bandages. It looks like I'm going to have to do it through items. So core game, gear. I want to say it is trade goods, bandages. So bandages are +1 to healing. What else does it say? Light, healing, right. 6 copper, common, rock, tailoring, knife. It's a normal item, so do I lose it when you use it? I guess not. Alright, I'm gonna have to look into that further, but I've been healed, right? So I stumble to my feet. he moves off to the side. Okay, so I stumble to my feet. I'm alive, barely. He kind of looks at me, gives me the go-ahead to try and affect him. I think my only real option is to attempt magic again, right? So we're going to attempt magic again. I am going to go into my stun again. I'm going to add 1 willpower to it. Right there. Giving it that. Okay. It's only going to give me 2 dice. Do I want to add a second willpower to make it strength 4 again? I'm not going to have a chance unless I can knock him out, right? So I need to do it. So I'll go. Whoops, I did the wrong thing. So I'm going to redo that here in just a second. Strength, agility, very good. All right, so let me go to my talent. I need to act back in to willpower. 3. There we go. 3 willpower. All right. So talent, I'm going to do stun. I'm going to add 2 dice to it. Okay. So I'm going to do it power level 3 again. That's all I can do. Okay. So I'm going to roll for it. This is a joke. Alright, your magic makes you very hungry. Alright, so I attempt to cast a spell again. My willpower goes to 0. Now, you saw that I only had 2 willpower to spend because one of them has to be used just to cast the spell. Now, it does affect him with a strength of 3. Okay? So the stun has affected him strength 3. So he does need to resist the damage. It just could have done additional damage, right? So I'm going to close that. He is now going to make a insight roll to attempt to resist my damage. Okay, he gets 1 success. So his agility is only affected by 2, right? He took 2 points of damage on his agility. He can't push. He charges back at me again, closes the distance. He kind of just shrugs as he comes in and stabs at me again, straight in. No ifs, ands, or buts. Oh, interesting. Whoa. Okay. He got no successes on his roll. I don't need to parry. I apparently, even in my crappy state, have bobbed and weaved and got out of his way, right? So we're going to go to the next round of combat, but we're going to stay in hand-to-hand. And he basically says, "No more magic for you, little human," right? So my only real option is hand-to-hand combat, which is not going to go well. Now, I see that he's carrying a 2-handed sword. He can parry, right? So I am just going to, in fact, edge pointed, I'm just going to stab him, right? So I'm going to use my longsword. I am going to stab. I am going to roll. I get 1 success, so it's going to do 3 damage, right? I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at 3 damage. So he is going to attempt to parry. He gets a -2 because he's attempting to parry a stab, but he's got all the dice in the world to spend right here. So he's probably doing really well. He parried nothing. So 3 damage is coming through. He is now going to have to make an armor roll. Right? He's got armor 6. That's how I should have done the roll for myself, which I'm going to do here in a minute, right? So he's going to make an armor roll. He got 1 success, so his armor blocked 1 point of damage. He is going to take 2 points of strength damage. Boom, boom. Okay? So he's surprised. He was fully not expecting me to come in. He has no talent right there, right? So I just realized he had to He had to use his action to parry. His weapon allows him to parry, but he had to use his action to parry me, which came out with 0, which means he's given up his main action to parry, which we'll understand here in a minute. All right. And I'll explain poison in a second, right? So I should have rolled this, and hopefully I get a negative, which I don't. So I'm going to do it again until I get a skull, right? Nope. Let me do it again. Let me try and get a skull. Hopefully I only get 1. I got 1. Oh, of course I got 2, right? But that is supposed to reduce my armor, right? My armor should have reduced based on that. So in my studded leather armor, it's reduced by 1. So we're going to cancel that. Right? How do we... Can I go to my gear and reduce my armor? Studded leather. No. No. Rating. No. No. Let me go to my gear. My combat. Right? Let me go to here. No. Studded leather. No. No. Alright. I'll have to remember that my gear is reduced by 1. So we're going to close that for now. There we go. Alright. So, in the combat initiative order, in order to do a parry, so let me show you that right here, in combat and damage, under melee, close combat right here, you have a number of actions that you can take, and one of them is parry, right? There's slash and stab. I look for those forever. Alright, one of the actions is parry, right? Your reactive action requires a shield or weapon, roll melee, plus your gear bonus. If you parry with a weapon lacks parrying feature, you get a -2, right? So he parried, is what's happening. Now, one of your actions in combat, right? You've got slow actions and you've got fast actions. So parrying with a weapon apparently is a fast action. So he lost his fast action. He still can take his slow action. So I was mistaken on that regard. So let me close this. He is then going to take his turn to basically beat the crap out of me. So let's go to the roll window. Roll it up again. Let's go to combat. There's the Isser. He is going to make his two-handed sword attack. Now he is damaged in strength, so he isn't rolling as well as he has been. So let's give him his roll. I'm assuming he's stabbing again. Holy crap, he failed, and he failed 2 skulls in his skill. Interesting. Okay. Alright. He can't push, so that's his turn. We're going to go to the start of the next turn. I am going to continue to fight. The dwarves are actually probably standing up and taking notice now, because the fight isn't quite going the way they expected. I made a fool out of myself attempting to use dwarven magic. Maybe there's some hoodoo in the background that I'm not aware of that causes all my spells to backfire on myself because of the dwarves, right? But my prowess with the sword is showing through. Even though they can tell my stature is slighter than the orc, I apparently seem to be doing pretty well. So we're going to give ourselves a nice swing here. Ooh, Alright, so we're going to leave this as is. I don't want to push it. So skulls do not affect you if you don't push. So those 2 skulls on the longsword are not going to degrade my longsword unless I push. I don't want to push, right? So I'm going to keep my 3 points of damage that I'm doing to him. He, once again, is going to use his fast action to parry. So he's going to parry. He's parrying a stab again. So we've both been attempting to stab each other with our swords, because we know that the opponent is at a disadvantage, right? So we're both stabbing. He attempts to parry. He does parry one of my dice. Okay, so he's taking it down to 2 points. And then he's going to attempt an armor save. So 2 points are coming in. No successes. Wow. All right. That breaks him, right? So he is now broken in combat, right? Where? Oh, we had to pull up the broken table is how we had to do it in damage, right? So he has now been broken. So let's find out what happened to him in his broken condition, right? So let's go under combat and injuries. Let's go to, let's bring up the injuries table again. We're going to go to broken. He needs to roll a critical injury, and the critical injury is from a stab wound. We're going to give him a roll on the table here. Let's give him a roll. What is the stab wound? What happens? What did I do to him? Pierced cheek. Wow. All right. So, -1 to manipulate. It's not lethal. It's going to take him 6 days to heal, but basically he's been knocked down. He has to give ground, right? So he's been critically injured. Now, my companion did come in and save me, right? So that did happen. He does not have a companion to save him. Do the dwarves look unfavorably upon that, right? Or were they more entertained by the fact that there was a combat and it was thrilling, right? So let's go to yes, no oracle, right? So we're going to ask them, does this meet the dwarves? Do they leave with enjoyment, right? Did this meet the requirement? I've taken them out, or are they going to call foul because my companion assisted me, right? So yes, they enjoyed it. They're not going to come back. No, they didn't enjoy it. So yes, they did enjoy it, and it's an ace, exceptional yes. So the dwarves are rousing, clapping of the shields, stomping of the feet. They come in, they probably slap me on the back, things of that nature. So this has gone much different than I originally anticipated, but it's basically because I forgot to resist my own roll, right? So I've resisted the roll now. I have no willpower. I'm severely injured, right? My wits are down, my agility are down. I'm barely stumbling around. I wouldn't even be surprised. In fact, let's find out. So that means they would leave this orc with me, basically. They'd say, he's yours to do with what you will, right? He's basically standing there with his face slashed open, currently, gripping the side of his face. Blood's pouring out of it, but it's not lethal. He's winded. He's just laying on the ground, just panting, kind of crawled off to the side a little bit. There's probably a couple of dwarves that came up, held their swords at him, knocked his sword out of his hand, right, to disarm him again. And they're basically like, do with him what you will. You are the victor in this situation. Aramis, you are not so much of a good sorcerer, and which is funny because my my Dark Secret is first. I'm yearning for more power, right? And then my thing with my companion is she doubts I have magical powers. She thinks I'm a fool who claimed to have magical powers. And as far as she can tell from this encounter, that's true. That it does nothing, right? So currently she is correct. I do not have any magical powers worth saying. Let's go back to the Forbidden Lands right now. Or the the Forbidden Lands. There we go. We're going to go back to the overall map. All right. So far, she's in agreement that I have no skill whatsoever. I am now left with this orc, who, in fact, I need to do some additional things, because since we went back in time, I need to give back myself my water. I believe one of these two was down. Which one did Solga give him? Solga gave him food, so my food was already D10. So Solga's food goes back to D12 because we did not do this, and my water goes back to D12, right? So this is still day 2. Much different result than my original intention. My original intention was to have a one-on-one, mano-a-mano fight with the orc, but now I'm left with an orc. What do I want to do with? So let's go to the oracle. What do I want to do with the orc? Right? So let's go to the solo rules again. Let's go to the yes-no oracle. All right. So will I care for this? Will I coup de grace this orc? Right? Will I take his life and rid myself of him? Or will I take pity on him and bring him with me? Right? So I'm going to say red is I take pity on him. Black is I do not. So black. So it's a 9 of clubs. No, higher numbers are more definitive. So I basically say, so the question is, do I wish to coup de grace him? Another joker. Let's get rid of that. Apparently the answer is no. I do not wish to coup de grace him. I basically say, I wash my hands of him. He may go free, right? For all I care. He can stumble off and fight another day. And the dwarves kind of look at me. They look at him. And are the dwarves going to coup de grace him? Yes, they will. All right? So basically, one of the dwarves, after I say that, says, oh, all right. Yoink! They stick him. Basically, they spear him and coup de grace him and leave him for dead on the ground. I'm probably taken aback a little bit. I'm not happy for the result, but it was my doing, right? I chose for that to be the case. All right, so let me put my bandages back on myself. All right. And this is something I didn't consider in the last game. Towards the end of the day, right? When I was exhausted and when I had injuries, I could have been healing myself all this time. So let's look at healing, right? So combat damage, let's look at healing. If someone manages to heal you during the process of healing a critical injury, the remaining healing time is reduced by half. Earlier, I don't care about that, right? You can recover all your lost hit, but still suffer the effects of a critical injury. So I need to look at the skill, I think. So let's look at the skill healing. Healing right there. All right. Dangerous place. This is when healing skill is useful. A person who has had their strength reduced is broken and cannot act further. If you apply your healing skill and your roll succeeds, they get back on their feet and immediately recover a number of attribute points equal to the number of blop. Most importantly is doing that. Okay, I think that's what it is that healing can only be done once, right? Where is it? Push to damage. I could have swore I saw it. Recovery. Faster recovery being broken, someone else treat you by rolling healing or performance. This is slow. Alright, this is slow. Action cannot be performed with an enemy at arm's length. If you roll successful, meter number of points. Broken attribute. Further rolls have no effect, and the same person can only try once. Alright, there we go. So if your strength is broken, you might die unless treated in time. Interesting. Alright. Once back on feet, you recover all remaining lost attribute points by resting or sleeping for a quarter day. Assumes that you are not hungry, thirsty, etc. Always critical. Got that. You can only roll once. Each person trying to heal you can only roll once for death. Right? Someone manages to heal you during the process because you recover everything overnight regardless. But I'm trying to see if there's a way to recover it. Apparently you can only do it when you've been broken. Right? Is what it seems like. Recovery. Fast way to recover from being broke. Someone else treat your heals, right? For wits and empathy, strength or agility. This is a slow action. Number of points, broken attribute equal to the number of successes. Further rolls have no effect. Alright, so what I'm going to say then is now I can attempt to heal myself, right? If no one helps you within DC, you recover anyway and get 1 point back in the relevant attribute within D6 hours. Alright, hold on. Once you're back on your feet, by resting or sleeping for a quarter day. So if you're not hungry, okay. Being broken is bad. It can trigger long-term effects, even cost you your life. Critical damage tables are found at the back of the book. Right, healing. Each critical injury has a specific effect. Duration time indicated in days. If someone manages to heal you during the process of a healing critical injury, remaining healing time is reduced by half. And earlier rolls to save your life don't count. Okay, so basically I'm going to recover all my hit points is what I'm reading here. Basically, I'm going to just recover is what's going to happen. I thought I had to keep making rolls, so apparently just recovering. Person has their strength related to their program. If you apply healing skill right equal to blah 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 blah. That does nothing. You want to look at this. Each critical care if someone manages to heal, right? So under here you recover anyway, right? And then further recovery is you get everything if you rest. Okay, so basically I'm going to have to rest for the day. I'm going to have to make camp, rest up my attributes. I would have recovered the rest of my attributes in the remaining part of the day, but I don't get to. So it is now basically time to make camp, right? So I need to do a make camp roll, which is a survival roll, I believe. Let's do journeys, your adventure journeys right there. So we're going to make camp right here. All right, whenever the journey of the day is over, it's time to make camp. Finding a general location for camp, making a fire, preparing to sleep takes a whole quarter day. Usually the evening only one person makes a make camp roll, but others can help. So she is going to attempt to help me. Solga will attempt to help me in making camp, basically. Make a survival roll modified by the quartermaster, and I have a tent as well. If you succeed, you find shelter in a comfortable place. If you fail, your camp is less pleasant. Okay, you can still set up the camp where you can rest and sleep, but I make a hidden roll on a mishap table, right? And then something could spring this mishap on me while camping. So I'm going to make camp. She is going to keep watch, right, while you're in your camp. When we go overnight, she's going to keep watch, basically. We have 3 quarters left in the day. I'm going to make camp. She is probably going to hunt. So we'll do that activity real quick. It's 9:15, so it's basically, getting time to wrap this up, so to speak. We've been going for quite a bit here. But we're going to make camp. So I'm going to make a survival roll, right? So let's do survival. Where's my survival? Right there. Boop. And I do have a small tent. So I get an extra 2 value because I have a small tent. Let's bring up our roll window again. Boop. There you go. So I'm going to attempt to make camp. And I successed. I succeeded. I successed. Alright, so I succeeded. The camp is comfortable. It's good. The camp allows 2 people to sleep. During that same time, she is going to hunt, I believe. She doesn't have any talent, but there's something about the plains and this time of year. So let me... In the Raven's Reckoning, in the spring, there's a -1 to forage. So she does not want to forage. She wants to hunt, is what she wants to do. Okay? Now, hunting in and of itself has a risk on it. And we're going to go to the solo rules because there's an expanded hunting table in there. So let me get the new hunting gathering table, the new hunting table, okay? So she has to make a hunt, right? You cannot hunt in the same location, which means that any mishaps will affect you individually, right? An option is that one of you hunts and the other helps, okay? You need some kind of gear to hunt, which she has equipment to hunt with, so she's allowed to do that. Let's bring up Solga so we can see what she has. Solga carries with her a dagger and a short sword, so she has a short sword with which to hunt. She then has to make a hunt, which is a survival roll, I believe, right? You need some form of You must make a survival roll. There we go. She has no talents because she is a companion, and that's just the way it is. Companions, though, do get to make one of these journey rolls. That's the one thing that they do get to do. So she is going to make a survival roll. She has got an awesome survival, and she has an awesome wits as well, which gives her a very good ability to survive. She is going to hunt. All right, so she got one success, and that's all she needed. Okay, you find some kind of prey. So we're going to roll on the table to see what kind of prey it is. All right, now I'm going to have to show you my PDF view. So here's the expanded table that is in the solo roleplay item that you can get off of DriveThruRPG. And just for your reference, this expanded solo rules is by the same person who wrote the solo rules that are in the back of the Beasts book. The solo rules, he was given a limited word count, so they had to be truncated as much as possible, right, to make it as dynamic as possible. Afterwards, he wasn't satisfied with them, so he produced an independent, approved by Free League Press, his own set of solo rules to go with the Forbidden Lands item, right? So let us see what we get. So we are in the plains. She finds a 10 of diamonds. So a 10 is a badger. All right, so it's a badger. All right, interesting. Okay, so how's this going to work? Because from what I understand, if you fail in your attacking roll, there we go, right. So she has to now make an attacking roll. All right. You find some kind of prey. Roll on the table to see what type of animal. If you roll multiple successes, you can re-roll on the hunting table. She did not. To kill your prey, you must roll again. If you, this time for marksmanship if using a weapon, or survival again if you're using a trap. Interesting. Can she roll marksmanship if she has I guess she has a dagger, which can be used. She has a dagger, right? Can a dagger be thrown? Arm's length, edge, light. It's got a damage thing. Let us go to combat, or let's go to main. It's marksmanship, so let's roll marksmanship. So I guess she just has to make a marksmanship. I guess she's using her dagger to attempt to stab the animal, or I can do survival again if she's doing a trap. I would think she'd do survival again, right? Because she's got an awesome skill level in survival. So she's going to use a trap, right? Modify the roll with the difficulty of the animal. The animal has a difficulty of -1. All right, so it has a -1 difficulty. Okay. According to the table, you don't need to fight the animal. Rolling once is enough. Note that some animals cannot be caught with a trap. What does it say? Can a badger not be caught with a trap? I don't know. It doesn't say. So we see the badger on the table. If it attacks, you use the fox's stat. So that's what's going to happen if she fails to kill it. She'll have to fight it, right? It doesn't indicate if you can't use a trap, right? It's got a M3P1. I don't know what that means. M3P1. What's M3P1 mean? Disease. Nope, that's the mishaps. Hunting table. What's MP? Let's look at the regular hunting table, which is... Okay, where's the hunting table? Where's the hunting table? core game, journeying, find a prey. That's that, but it doesn't give us anything. Alright, I don't know what M3P1 stand for. Right? I don't know if... Yeah, I have no clue. M3P1. Don't know. Alright. So I'm going to make her survival roll, and we'll see if she can't get at least the successes needed to trap it. Alright, so she got 2 dice on her survival. It had the -1 applied to it, right? Somewhere it should have had -1. Very good. Because she rolled 4, was her wits, and survival was 3, so it did subtract 1 from her survival. So she did get 2. She cannot push because she's an NPC, so she succeeded. Okay? To kill your prey, oh, that's right. M is meat, if I remember correctly. Yep, meat, pelts. There it is. Meat and pelts. It has 3 meat, 1 pelt. Okay? In the upper left indicates how many units of meat and pelts your prey yields. The meat can be cooked by a chef or at an inn, and is then turned into amounts of food. You can eat meat raw. You can consume a unit of meat instead of rolling. Blah 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 blah. Okay, and then pelts can be turned into leather at a tannery. By a tanner, preferably at a tannery, right? So tanner, tannery, very good. Gears and services, chefs, blah, 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 blah. All right. So a couple things need to be remembered here. My silver's there. Did we get the... I don't have it. So this is Solga. That's her 20 silver. And did she get the bowl that we got? Let's look at my journal here. Journey. Day 1, we got a mug for 3 silver pieces, which I don't see the mug here. Do I have the mug? Miss, do I have the mug? No, I don't have a mug, right? So I need to put a mug on myself somewhere, or something. Well, I think I converted the copper and the silver in the very first thing. She may have kept the silver. I'm going to assume I put the numbers in here, and that's all I can say at the moment. All right, so day 2. So let's. So I successfully set cap. She got 3 meat. Where's our trade goods? Do we have meat? Is meat in here? Meat. Where is it? There's fishing, so that's that. So no. Where is it? Raw materials. There we go. She got 3 meat. So we're going to put it on, not me, we're going to put it on Solga. Because she got it. She got 3 meat. She got 3 of them. Okay, 3 raw meat, and she got 1 pelt. Right? So currently they're just raw. They are what they are. We're both over encumbered at the moment. We're both over our capacity. All right. So one of the things that I have gear-wise is a cauldron, right? And a cauldron, which we will close that PDF view right there. Okay, so we can get back to here. Let me go to here. A cauldron. Where's my cauldron? Boop. +1 when cooking foods. It makes it possible to cook D6 + 2 units of food in a quarter day. All right. So I set up camp. She went hunting. Now we're getting into the night, right? Because that was the afternoon, basically. After our brutal fight, the dwarves have since left us. We probably separated ourselves away from the dead body of the orc, which they probably put on a pyre of some kind and burned it with all the other dead orc bodies. Probably left some of their skulls staked around the pyre, broke their weapons, or took them to be melted down for Forge. But basically, the dwarves have scattered to the winds, right? I need to damage my armor somehow, and I'll need to figure out how to do that. right? Because my gear, what is this? Gear, right? Can I edit it? Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Okay, it has been damaged a little bit. All right. So number of options that are left at the end of the day here. I'm gonna have to fill out my journal here extremely greatly here in a second. So let's go to my journeys, right? So you've got keep watch, you got make camp, you got sleep, you got explore, you got travel, blah 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 blah, right? And then in combat, you can damage your armor, right? So where is armor right here? Armor can be repaired, okay? Ties armor time, combine. Where is it? Suffering damage. The armor can be repaired, and I have to look up how to repair. I don't know if it's just something you can do, because it's not an actual part of the resting. It's not one of the options, right? Rest, sleep. Let's look at what rest says, right? Resting by the campfire is a good opportunity to recover from your damage. Read more about recovery. Resting is interrupted something dramatic like combat or similar activity during your quarter of the day, no longer counts as rest. All right, so I think what's gonna have to happen is she hunted, I set up camp. We've got a nice camp. We've got a little fire going. She's coming in. I guess, right? Resting. Recovery on damage recovery. What's this say? Damage recovery. Right? Suffering damage. Armor. Real leather chainier. Suffer. Right? Where is recovery? Right? We already looked up recovery. So we know what recovery is. Where is armor? Right? And we already know what armor says it does. So there's that. So do we need to look at skills? So let's look at skills real quick. Crafting. I think. Repair. Repairing a broken item generally takes a few hours. An successful crafting roll. If the roll succeeds, the item is repaired. Okay, so there's crafting. And then there's cooking, right? Where is it? Scouting, survival, insight, healing, performance. Is it survival? Is survival how you do cooking? Wrong path. Is it crafting? Crafting, repair, crafting new items. Requires far more work than crafting those, right? Some items need to be crafted, right? Master crafting, I know that. That's fine. But that's not what I'm saying. What is cooking? So I need to look at my cauldron. Is what I need to look at. So what's my cauldron say? Boom. My cauldron says when cooking food. Makes it possible to cook D6 plus 2 units of food in a quarter day. Alright, so it does take a quarter day to cook the food. Alright, so I'm not going to be able to do that because I need to rest and she needs to keep watch, and then we need to vice versa, right? So resting will help me recover, so I'm going to rest. She is going to keep watch. But I can repair my armor, right? So repair is crafting right there. Okay, so crafting, I don't have very many dice in it, so I'm gonna make an attempt. I do know that if you roll a failure in crafting, so I may not want to do it today, right? So skills, let's look at crafting, right? Repair. You cannot go, okay, if the item has a gear bonus, it will be increased one step, right? Cannot go with the gear bonus if the gear fails. It's permanently decreased. If the roll fails, it's permanently decreased. It's not just on skulls. It's if you just fail, you get no successes. So failing reduces it, permanently decreased to the current level, right? If you fail, so it permanently stays at 2 if I fail the roll. Once it's reduced to 0, it's basically useless. So I'm not going to attempt to repair it, right? I'm not going to attempt a crafting roll to repair my armor, which only takes a few hours. That's all that's going to happen. I, in fact, am just going to rest. So let's go to Solga, who is now going to keep watch. So on journeys, right, she is going to keep watch while I rest. So keep watch during every quarter of the day. You should designate one adventurer in your group that's responsible for scouting for threats to keep watch, right? Even after you make camp, you don't lookout is useful during every quarter, even after you make camp. You do not have to have a lookout if you don't want, but without one, we don't have a chance to spot the enemy. So that's what keeping watch does, is it lets you, if a random occurrence occurs that's another encounter, you can avoid it because you kept watch, depending on whether you succeed in the roll or not. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to Solga, who has a sheet, which is right there. She is going to keep watch, which that's what I was looking up. What do we roll for keep watch? Scout comes into play, right? So where is it? Lookout. Where is it? Rule of thumb. Come on, where is it? Every quarter you should 1, 2 responsible for scouting. Keep watch. You cannot lead the way. Lookout is useful during your quarter. You can make watch. You don't need to look out. Don't. Scout comes into play. Random encounters. Right. Rule of thumb. So I guess it's a scouting roll. It doesn't say scouting, but it's a scouting roll. So she is going to make a scouting roll. It's not me. It's Solga is going to make a scouting roll. Boom. She's got a decent scout. She's going to make a roll to keep lookout, to keep watch, and she succeeds. All right, so she has successfully kept watch. Now we need to roll a random encounter. Wait a minute. No, we made camp successfully. So since I successfully make camp, right? If you fail, your camp is less pleasant, and the GM could spring a mishap on you at any time. Okay? Wilderness is dangerous. Even while you're in your camp, your sentry needs to be kept awake. You choose who stands during the night, and let this person sleep some other quarter of the day, usually the evening, right? So now we need to shift to the evening. Now I need to find out where it is that we make our random encounters, right? So where's our random encounters? Solo. It's not hunt, not weather, random encounters. When you enter a hex, you do it, which we didn't enter a new hex. Publish the encounter so hard, player respond to really handle it, though the encounter, then use the oracle, blah blah, figure out how the NPCs. Okay, solo. Really empty, right? Rest in the castle. Oh, that's solo castle creation. Never mind. Alright, so expand animal companions, venture generation. I think because we stayed in the same hex, there isn't a chance for a random encounter because we basically stayed there. But let me double check the Game Master's Guide. Let's look up random encounters. Let's use this one to look up the Game Master's Guide. Let's do encounters. Okay, random encounters. There we go. Okay, this chapter deals with the number of random encounters that you can use during the adventure's journey. Use a table roll rolling d6. Okay, sooner or later you will roll an encounter that you've already rolled. Okay, that's nice. Yeah, let's see. Use table, roll d66, encounter, blah, 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 blah. Each encounter has a number attached to it. Typically, you don't roll when an adventurer enters a hex with an adventure site, as they will have plenty to do there anyway. Okay, failure to scout means the threat is up close, which we knew that. But as far as I know, there isn't a just make a random encounter, because that only occurs when you enter a hex. So I'm going to say no random encounter. So we're making camp. I'm going to rest. which takes care of my business right there. I'm good. I then have to keep watch with my scouting roll. So let me do my wits roll right there. Boom. Let's make a scouting roll. Oh, yeah. I got 4 successes on my scouting roll. So I'm more than capable of keeping watch while she rests. But does she even need to rest? Well, she does need to rest because she can't go without sleep. So she rests. We're just going to give her a rest. And that's the end of day 2. So that's going to end my day for now. I'm going to write my journal as to the... Oh, I know what I forgot. All right. Aramis and Solga both need to spend resources, or at least roll on their resources. I already rolled once for the day, but I'm going to do it again, right? And in fact, while I was keeping watch, I could have attempted a repair roll on my equipment. So crafting is going to give me that. I'm going to attempt to repair my armor while I'm keeping watch. So I'm going to roll here. I got no successes, so I'd have to push it. And since I had no successes, I am going to push it. Uh-oh. Okay. That's going to apply 1 point of damage to me, and I pushed it, and that permanently lowers my gear, basically. So my gear is permanently lowered, right? Combat. My studded leather. No, cancel. I found it once already, right? Let's go to my gear. I think it was here that I did it. Yep, right. So it is permanently damaged, right? So there we go. 2 days, smith, forge, knife, silver. Okay, got it. All right. So it's permanently damaged. So my my repairs sucked, and I hurt myself. So I got that going for me going into tomorrow. I got to keep that. She recovered. Oh, that's right. We were going to eat. Hello. We were going to eat. I wonder if she should... Well, she can't attempt the skill herself. And her crafting, it would have been just 4 dice, right? So my crafting was... Wow. My crafting was... Oh, crafting is strength. All right. Oh, that tells that. So she's got 4 right there, and I have 4 with the one with crafting. All right, I suck. All right. I guess by the next day, because I am going to rest, since nothing occurs at night. Well, I'm not resting technically, but nothing occurs over the course of the day, so I guess I would recover my strength point by morning, right? So let's close that down. All right, so I keep forgetting to do this. We're going to make a gear roll. All right, so I need to roll on my food. So let me get the roll table up here. I keep leaving that up right there. All right, so we're going to roll on my food. I rolled a 10, so my food is good. I'm going to roll on my water. And I rolled a 10 on my 4 on my water, so I'm good. All right. Solga, she's going to dive into her food right there. She rolls a 6. She's good. She's going to dive into her water. Uh-oh, her water goes down by 1. All right. So she loses a dye type on her water. Maybe she had to use more water than necessary to clean my wounds during that combat to allow me to stand up and keep fighting the orc. I definitely have an arm that's got a bandage on it right there. I do need to find out if those bandages are not a permanent item. But let me get to my Journey of Aramis right there. Let me close that book. Let me close that book. Let me close that book. There we go. All right. So what are we going to say here? All right. So half exhausted. All right. Aramis was pressed into melee combat. His prowess as an ex-soldier finally shone through. And against the greater opponent, I was victorious. All right. The dwarves told me I could keep the injured orc refused. They then killed him out of hand. A small pang of regret clouded my mood. We made off from the dwarves and set up camp for the day. Solga slew a badger. And we have some additional meat and pelts. Alright. I tried to repair my armor and made no progress. No progress. The armor is permanently damaged by 1. There we go. All right. There we go. So that's it. So that's going to end day 2. There we go. So we're going to save this. That is the Journey of Aramis. I think this is where we're going to leave off. Wow, a whole second day. I've moved 1 hex. Almost died in a battle against an orc. Severely injured. Had a fairly good rest of the day. But now we are going into day 2 with attempting to cross. Let me close my roll window. We're going to attempt to cross the river here. Now, that's what I forgot. So every day you're supposed to sort of tell a story, and it creates additional legends that open up additional options. Now, what is supposed to happen is first steps, right? And first steps in the, come on, what is it? No. It is encounters. Random encounter. No. Come on, where is it? First session. You're supposed to potentially go, you're supposed to have one specific legend that happens on the very first time that you play the game. And it is, come on, legends. These are all the legends, right? But there's one that is supposed to happen the first time that you rest, because it opens up. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Game Master Guide. I'm going to go to the Legends. Where is it? Game Master's Guide. Is it Adventure Sites? Villages? No. All right. Not Adventure Sites. Where is the Legends? History, bestiary, artifacts, counter, adventuring sites, hollows, locations? Yes. And this is the hollows, basically. Oh, no, that's... Never mind. Let's close that down. It's the hollows. Here it is. All right. So over the camp, while I'm keeping watch, and Solga is kind of sitting back against a rock, kind of resting. She didn't really need much, so she's kind of peeking out of the tent, maybe on her elbows, peering at me across the flames. I go, and I'm poking the fire, and I basically say, the hollows. Have you ever been to that dump? It's a village at the back of beyond. Cowards and milksops hid from the blood mist and that sorry excuse for a village, waiting for better times. They were unaware of one thing, however, that their peaceful village was built on the site of blood and death. And then that's the legend that we're going to leave off on. But what that means is that the hollows needs to be a village near us on the edge of a river or a sea, right? So the Hollows itself, let me see if I can get to the Hollows. Adventure sites. Nope. The Hollows. There we go. The Hollows. The Hollows. The Hollows not to be a place adventurers can visit in order to rest and recuperate between their ordeals in Forbidden Land. Having gotten to their keep, before having gotten their keep in order. Having a secure base to return to can be useful. They may even want to establish their keep in the vicinity of it. You can choose between having it, etc. The Hollows must be located in a map hex next to a river. So we're basically going to say that this right here is the Hollows. So that is a location, and I believe one of these represents the Hollows. Weathertop, the Hollows, right there. So what I need to do is I need to figure out how these stickers right here work, right? Is it a tile? It is. All right. So we are going to grab the Hollows right here. Yoink. Drag it along, and we're going to put the Hollows right there. So boom, we know where the Hollows are. So the Hollows are located right there. So if we want to make camp at the village, then that's a potential location that we can use in the future. And I remember that because I knew we were near it. So the question is going to be, do we want to go to the Hollows to maybe rest, recuperate, spend our money, gear up a little better? Or do we want to press on to the legend, which is a cave in the woods? But we'll find out next time. For day 3 of our adventure. The biggest sticking point at this moment is I need to find a way across the river. So it may be that we come here and we can't get across. So we're probably going to, depending on what occurs when we get here, well, we're here now, we're going to have to make an attempt to get across the river. The blue circle, if you've forgotten, represents that we've explored that hex before, right? So this one we ran in here. I'll have to find out again if we need to make an exploration roll here. But we'll find that out next week. We've already gone a little late. It's 9:49. I need to call it quits. If you have been watching, thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoyed what little you got to witness. We barely did anything except vacillate on one fight, and then we made some camp, and I barely survived. So thank you all for watching. I think this is going to be the end of today's adventure, and hopefully you enjoyed yourself, learned a little bit about the Forbidden Lands. I obviously need to learn more. I've read the rules one time. I thought I knew them fairly well, but trying to find the information I need at the drop of a hat, not so simple. But I sort of have an understanding about the rules in regards to combat. I understand the rules for magic, which is very bad. You don't want to use magic unless you have a good option or really, really need to do it. I understand how you control your food. I need to find out if the bandages are used up once they've been used once, or if I have a surplus of bandages. We'll find out. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching.